Welcome to the Day at Indy on the Marshall Pruitt Podcast, brought to you by Cooper Tires, the Justice Brothers, and our dear friends at TorontoMotorsports.com, who'll be holding an awesome one-day pop-up shop, that being Saturday the 25th, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Memorabilia Show. Cannot wait to see the cool stuff they have coming for us there. So, here on this somewhat strange Thursday, May 16th, we had quite a bit of running going on. To start, we had a little bit of a quiet afternoon, and then just as folks were starting to think about rolling out happy hour, coming into the window to really try and do some hardcore qualifying simulations, we had rain come bucketing down, thunder, lightning, chairs flying, awnings flying. It was some pretty serious stuff. So shut down the track about an hour earlier, so none of that happened. Interesting day, definitely an interesting day to see the various agendas at play. So one main takeaway, teams did more race day running longer into today, Thursday, than I expected at least. So we will see what happens tomorrow when we come back, when we have the extra turbo boost, qualifying boost, which should add about 5 miles an hour or so to the no-tow speeds, get us up into the 228, 229 unaided. Who knows, maybe even more if the conditions are right. We have 3 guests for you today, that being the 3-time Indy 500 winner, 4-time IndyCar Series champion Dario Franchitti, who leads us off, speaking about getting young Felix Rosenqvist's mind back in the game after his crash yesterday. Interesting to just hear there's a genuine process and philosophy they went through in getting him back on track and how to keep his mind in the right spot. Also some other fun stuff from Dario, getting to meet up with his friend, 7-time NASCAR champion Jimmie Johnson, and there's always just fun stories with Dario. We were followed after Dario with our pal, DragonSpeed team owner, former really excellent race car driver, young American hopeful heading over to Europe in the early 90s, that being Elton Julian, to speak about knowing what they are facing. Coming in here, rookie Indy 500 team, rookie Indy 500 driver, kid that has zero oval experience coming in, and Ben Hanley. And Elton is somebody who is driven by a lot of self-confidence. That's not a bad thing at all. He's also driven by honesty. And so if you don't know Elton, I think you're going to enjoy our discussion, because he reminds me so much of Michael Shank in that regard. He's just going to tell you what his truth is, stand on it, whether he sounds really smart, really not smart. He doesn't care. He's just going to be himself. So have all the time in the world for Elton, and boy, they do have a heck of a good story here. He uncorks one as well. I won't give it away here, but I didn't know about it, and it kind of blew me away to realize that this team has had to go through this big, unexpected change coming into Indy 500 practice. And then we close with the charming Aussie, that being James Davison. Have always had an affinity for that kid in sports cars, in junior open wheel, him turning up to Indy each year with the Byrd family, his friend Brad Hollinger, and also Brian Belardi taking part, the 3 of them coming together to help enter a car this year with Dale Coyne Racing, and to see what they can try and make happen. He, like Elton, knows that they're not quite yet at the happy end of feeling like they're going to get into the show without question. So enjoyed the conversation with James, who closes things out just from the topic of someone who's under pressure. And that's what I wanted to bring here for you from him. We have drivers here who wake up, roll out to pit lane, do their thing. Really, other than knowing James Hinchcliffe missed the show last year, really aren't giving any thought to the potential of them not making the field of 33. Just interesting to hear from someone who isn't filled with that confidence, who's dealing with a lot of pressure, where this is his biggest race of the year. It's really the big highlight. And so while that might sound like an obvious statement, of course Indy 500 is big, put yourself in the shoes of someone where this means everything. If you succeed, it will probably punch your ticket to come back next year. You have a good finish, a good showing, make sponsors happy, something in that range. If it goes poorly, if you fail to qualify, if you crash out early, maybe this dream ends. And so speaking with James, who's been in that role for a couple years now. Hasn't been able to break out of it, but has some very, very high-quality folks supporting him in the Byrds, the Hollingers, the Belardis. It's cool to see him undeterred, wanting to see if he can change his narrative, maybe call it almost a annual permanent return to the 500, because folks know this guy's always going to deliver. He will give you everything that he has. He is among the bravest drivers I have seen here in recent years, working with equipment that has not always been super, super competitive, but this kid's a fighter. And so great to hear from someone working towards the tail end of the field, right now at least, trying to tell us what his mindset is, getting ready for a very important weekend, yet again, that could fundamentally alter the arc of his career. All right, so we got 3 guests here, a little bit of a longer episode for our Day at Indy series. Thank you to everyone that's been listening. We've been getting a lot of really cool feedback, a lot of cool suggestions on who to have on, so we just kind of make this stuff up on the fly. We actually had 2 other guests lined up. Joseph Newgarden was one, and McLaren Racing CEO Zach Brown was another, and they both had to adjust and request a stay of execution to come back here another day with some things that changed on their end. So do certainly appreciate Dario coming in on the fly. He was on my list, but just called him a little sooner than expected. Then Elton, and then we close with our man, James Davison, all brought to you by Cooper Tires, the Justice Brothers, and TorontoMotorsports.com. Dario Franchitti, we have thunder arriving with you outside.
How about that?
The Lord has blessed your appearance.
Somebody's definitely speaking. It's pretty cool. We just lost power a minute ago.
I know. I was outside with Bourdais, and we were, no joke, watching steel chairs getting blown off the 8th floor of the pagoda and crashing down below. We almost had a fatality.
Well, the thing, all the data guys and girls haven't pulled the telemetry aerials down. They're all going to bend and break. So, yeah.
How are you, my friend?
I'm all right. Challenging day yesterday and sort of half of today with Felix. Obviously, he had his accident yesterday afternoon, and the guys and the girls on the team did a great job rebuilding the car. But today was just building confidence again with him, which he did ever so well. And by the end of the day, he was running flat out again, and getting right back up to the limit. So it was an impressive performance by the wee guy.
Tell folks about that, because when he headed out, I think some of the comments were, oh my goodness, he's only doing, pick the number, 215, 2 whatever. Of course the lad could do 230, but there's a process to trying to bring a rookie back from their first crash, keep the head space where it should be. I mean, that's really the focus.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the position here where I've run around at times and imagined, the rear is doing things and it's stepping out and all that. And so this place can play tricks with your mind, and then you hit the wall hard, which actually I never did here. I hit it hard in other places, but I never did it here. But he hit the wall hard yesterday. He's not quite sure why. And so he had to rebuild. And, the last thing you want to do is step over the line again. So we have a process in the team of, okay, we're going to set the car up, very conservatively and go at it. And he did that. And, Julian and him worked through it, and bit by bit got back up. And he wasn't happy with the car at first either. And then we made some changes. And by the end, the last couple of runs, he was flat out and wanted to take downforce off. So I took that as a good sign.
So knowing that you are entrusted now year after year, or it's been recent years, I should say, where rookies get to be the subject of your coaching advisement and otherwise. In the past, when TK was there, whomever, getting to work with friends and veterans, how much of what you're doing, say, with Felix here, his first 500, is about you saying, guys, I think this should be the agenda I'd like to introduce? How much is it the team? Just curious how you help shape this kid's first race.
Yeah, I think here I might lead on more occasions. I might say, okay, can we try this? Can we do that? On the road and street courses, I just generally take a back seat to that, and the engineer and the driver do what they got to do and how they would normally do it. But yeah, maybe here I'm sort of a bit more what about this? And maybe helping translate a bit more what he's actually saying as well. Normally I try not to get between the driver and the engineer because it just confuses things, but today he would say something, it feels like it's doing this, and I said, well, are you saying it's doing this? And this is what it feels like? He's like, no. I said, well, how about that? He said, yeah, that's it. So, just sort of helping him understand the level of detail you need to run around here as well. You go on Scott's radio and you hear this minute detail of every little thing the car is doing. And then with Felix, he's not quite there yet. But I think actually yesterday was a big lesson. So he's now really focused on the detail of each part of each corner, rather than just saying, yeah, it's oversteering or yeah, it's understeering. So that'll put him in good stead going forward.
So when you saw the crash happen, there were replays and such yesterday. What's your immediate instinct, Dario, in terms of looking at Felix as the proverbial blank canvas? Is it, I should go speak with him and tell him he did this right, but these two things wrong? Do you let him look at it and maybe give some answers back? Do you not do that at all? Just curious how much you coach, or just let him soak it in on his own?
My first instinct was, oh, shit, really, because
yeah.
I knew how far it was going to put the team back, because the guys obviously got to rebuild a new car, but mentally for him it was going to be tough. So we figured out what happened. It was difficult. The video, he hit so hard that it broke all the video equipment, and so we didn't have that replay, so we had to sort of try and piece it together a bit, and with all the data and everything. And at first we thought he'd hit the curb, but he hadn't. The car had actually broken loose before that, but it caught him by surprise. It was sort of, he'd been very happy with the car up until that point, and the wind had changed ever so slightly and started gusting a bit stronger. And I think Colton lifted quite heavily off the throttle, which is not something you should really do, but Colton did that anyway. And the combination of that, the wind, and there was a bump in the track, and round she went, and the car being quite on edge, shall we say. And round it went, and Felix just didn't have the experience to calculate ahead of time what was about to happen, and so then you just have to rebuild. And for me, it was a situation then of sort of trying to get him calmed down, get him prepared for what was going to happen today, and just working with him on that. And the team we're all doing the same thing. The engineers, Barry Wanzer on the stand, Scott got involved in that, and you're just trying to. You realise you're starting at zero again. In fact, you're actually negative, because the confidence level you show up here with, if you hit the wall, tends to go back. And so I have to say, we know he's talented. He's got a great talent, but his mental toughness today, that really, really impressed me.
Wow. Where is he at, Dario, if we're using the Franchitti scale of constant note-taking, just minutia, wanting to be a documentarian of all things, your fastidious ways blended perfectly with your driving skill? Where's Felix at in I remember on this lap at this race I'd made this bar change, etc.? Do you push that on him? He's
not where he needs to be. I told him what to do, what I thought he should do, shall we say, and I'm not sure he's where he needs to be yet. So you can only suggest. But Scott does it quietly. I think Scott goes and makes notes at the end of every day, and hopefully Felix is doing it. He hasn't shown me any yet, but I will say this for him: when a race weekend's over, you get a very detailed analysis of what went on. So maybe I'm being unfair, actually, because he might not be doing what I did and have like folders of notes and stuff, but you get this very detailed analysis. And it's interesting having him, who hasn't driven an Indy car before the season, or consistently,
race, yes.
his take on things. So I probably was being unfair to him. He thinks about it a lot. He probably thinks about it more away from the track than when he's at the track.
Dixie, obviously the two of you brothers, knowing that Felix is your young charge that you're trying to help look after along with the rest of the folks on the 10 car, how much you still able or want to or ask to come down to the 9 car just to listen in and whatnot?
It's not a case of, it's very rare that Chris or Scott will say, hey, can you come down? Then towards the end of last year there was a situation where Chris Actually, I was in a bar in Portland, and he phoned me and said, "Hey, can you have a look at this?"
Oh, that was the 10 a.m. phone call you told me about.
Yeah, that was the...
Sorry.
But he... because those guys operate at such a high level that it's very unusual that I'll be able to sort of do much there. But I keep an eye, and occasionally I'll make a suggestion, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But with Felix, it's a lot more intense. But I do love going down the 9-car stand and watching the way Chris and Scott just...
It's an operatic thing.
Oh, my word. And when Dixon comes in and he does that kind of... It's funny, every time he stops and they plug the car and he goes... And then he just downloads. He does that little sigh before he does it. And the level of detail is spot on.
Wow. So I think fans might have seen a pretty cool thing early in the running today, and that was Mr. 4-time here, 7-time. Jimmie Johnson showed up. Dixie was there. 5. I mean, we started losing count of rings and you name it. On one hand, folks might think, oh, cool, Dario and Scott got to meet Jimmie. In reality, you guys are good pals. So while to the world it was a cool thing, this is just kind of a regular meeting among friends. Regardless, how fun is it to have Jimmie in a place that's been your home, that you've helped build the legend here along with Dix, kind of have him come into your house?
It was really fun because we've talked about it a lot over the years of, you got to come to Indy, got to just watch a car coming through and see what it's all about. And so for him to be here today was it was really cool to show him a bit about what IndyCar is.
Did we get him up on the spotter stand in turn 1 or anything?
I think he was going to go meet Jay Fry. I said, go and stand on the outside up against the fence on turn 2.
Yo,
that's the place to go. And he was going to go hopefully in the stands in 2 as well and just watch what the guys do. So it's always fun to catch up with him. We're supposed to catch up at some point. We've been trying to schedule it for 2 years of him, Dix, and I having some beers one night. But we're always at different places with different agendas, unfortunately. But he's one of the, in a life of being involved in racing, he's one of the nicest, funnest, coolest people I've ever met.
I mean, if we just use the original Bakersfield in general off-road racing history, you look at Rick Mears as the template, you go, yeah, Jimmie should, no question as to why Jimmie's kind of in that same ridiculously talented but cool cat, just a mellow guy, but ridiculous. I mean, good people come from the Southern California and the dirt.
God, yeah, I 100% agree with you there. You know, the Mears, as you say, the Mears guys, and you know, but Jimmie's, I think to Jimmie's almost detriment, he is so easygoing and so cool that people, you know, I think underestimate him and certainly underappreciate him. I mean, this is a 7-time champion in one of the most competitive, if not the most competitive era in NASCAR ever. And he's special.
I'm glad he got to come here again, a place that he knows well from the Brickyard 400, but a place that he got to come and see from your experience of what this is about.
We said today, I said, well, can you believe, you know, they're going wide open through there, Jimmie? He said, yeah, we normally in qualifying we'll lift at between the 1 and the 2 board, and in the race we'll lift at the 2 board. And I said, the what? And he
said,
boards? The board. That's what I said. I said, there's boards. Wow, you live and learn. I'd never seen them before. He had to point them out to me.
Oh, that is brilliant.
Yeah, just not part of the architecture when you're driving an IndyCar.
I got to know him very briefly. He wouldn't recognize me from anybody today, but I got to know him 10, 12 years ago when I did a couple of stories for Race Car Engineering magazine. And what I loved in speaking with Jimmie was that wasn't really something folks apparently had asked him about or wanted to do stories about. So it was just cool seeing him go, oh, cool. So we're not talking about what kind of rounds a wedge I used here, but actually like the real art and science of racing. It's just cool to see this person go, ooh, new topic. Let's explore that. Let's explore something else, Dario. I'd love to get your thoughts on what we've seen today, what I think should be the theme for many folks about today, an off-track item, that being the race to get 2 crash cars back and up and running again. And so this isn't taking favorites or playing sides. This is just observing. So we had Fernando crash yesterday, roughly 12:30, 12:45, about 3.5, 4 hours before Felix, something in that general range. Speaking with Barry Wanzer this morning from Ganassi, said that the team went home at 12:30 this morning, believe the McLaren guys wrapped up 2:30, something like that. Felix's spare car was being warmed up at 9 a.m. I happened to be standing there when they fired up by coincidence. The McLaren guys didn't get out. And so the thing that strikes me is the difference between a well-oiled, well-drilled Ricky Davis-led crew.
Ricky, who turned 62 days ago.
Are you kidding? God, what's my excuse?
That was his birthday present, turning 60 to build a new
Felix,
car.
we're going to kick you in the nuts when we see you. But I was struck by the difference between a well-oiled, well-drilled unit. Barry was telling me the new spare car, so this is the spare tub, was wrapped last night and was being prepared this morning after Felix's replacement chassis was being warmed up and ready to go. The McLaren guys didn't get a chance to get out. What comes to mind, again, we're not picking on anybody, just saying, what comes to mind the difference between, say, a new one-car operation having to learn how to work together versus maybe this well-drilled Ganassi team?
I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's a well-oiled machine. Barry is the car build is Barry's sort of baby. He monitors that, all the cars getting built. Just he's got his eye on it all the time. But as a team, those guys have been together a long time.
Yep. And
as you say, the well-oiled machine. The parts were there. The parts were ready. I don't know how assembled the McLaren tub was when it showed up. I know ours was pretty ready to go, and probably just be more prepared. And that's I think there's some great teams in this pit lane, let me say, but I think we've got the best team. I do. It's part of being in the team, isn't it? You've got to believe in the people you work with. I think we've got a great team, both the 9 and the 10. And the sports car guys, let's not forget them. We've got a great team there.
I hear they let Matt Swan sweep the floor, which is kind, pensioner.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, looking after the pensioners. Yeah, I think Chip gets a tax break for keeping Swanee employed. But the McLaren guys, they're a great team too, but they're a new team to this, to IndyCar, and they might not be as prepared. Whether it's the parts being ready or the car being as built as our car was, or just knowing how the thing goes together as a group, getting 4 guys doing one job each rather than 4 guys all doing one job. It's all those little things, and track time is really a premium here. Although you wouldn't have known it today because not a lot of people were out running race runs in the middle of the day. It was bizarre.
Let's close on this, and just following on this theme, where's your internal Fernando making the show concern-ometer at, if we just look at not a great opening day Tuesday, obviously an abbreviated Wednesday, and now nothing again Thursday? What do you think the mindset should be, at least in theory, getting on track tomorrow morning? Would it be go straight into a quali sim once they do their install laps and such?
Well, everybody will be turned up tomorrow. They'll have the extra boost. I'd probably run it around with a bit of downforce on it first, see how she's feeling, and then hopefully you've got all day to do it. I think they've got Andy Brown is engineering the car. You don't get really much better than Andy Brown, in my opinion.
We love us some Andy
and
Brown.
He's so easy to work with too. And Fernando's what do they call that? The baseball. He's a clutch.
Yeah. Clutch hitter, clutch performer.
He's a clutch performer. He's the guy when the pressure's on. He's one of these people you want. He hasn't got a lot of experience here, but he's not fazed by much. So I think he'll be all right. But again, we know very well this place. Everything's got to go right, and you've got to really, the whole group's got to do the job to get in, especially with bumping this year. And nobody, as we saw with Hinch last year, and we've seen before, we saw with the Penske's in the mid-90s, all that, nobody's immune to missing the show.
The skies are green outside, Dario. I know you'd like to get back to your bus and have a nice evening. I think we might need to get some pillows and blankets up here. I think we might all be sleeping in the media center.
I was going to say, I remember this, was it 07 or something? There was a tornado after the race, or 06 or something. Remember that? We were all huddled in the garages afterwards. In fact, one night it happened, we were in the bus lot and we all got woken up from our buses and we got told to go, and we're all standing there in various sort of weird outfits at 2 o'clock in the morning because there's a tornado coming. That was one of the odder things I've ever experienced at the Speedway, to be honest.
And on that, I have got nothing to follow. You killed me. You
Tony
won.
Kanaan at
You
2
win.
o'clock in the morning is not a pretty sight.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, him especially in his bumblebee pajamas. Yeah, that's a little bit bizarre there. My friend, thank you as always for taking some time and just helping bring the sport to fans who love to hear your take.
Thanks, brother.
Day at Indy listeners, we are joined by a friend, someone who I really enjoy because Elton Julian, you are your own damn self. And I say that in the most positive way. You love racing. You've raced your entire life. You're now a team owner. You just do what you do. You also have to know here on your first Indy 500, you're coming in on a really tough year.
Yeah.
With a lot of cars that are a lot of folks that are maybe putting you first among the easy out.
Dialed in. Everybody's, I put myself there.
Do you?
No doubt about it. Yeah, why wouldn't I? Look at the program, look at where we're at in the curve of the program, straight into the Indy 500. We're no fools. We understand. We respect the competition. We respect the place, the heritage, the difficulty. Even if I never drove it, I was around it a little bit. Know enough people that raced it successfully and unsuccessfully to know how complicated it can be. But you put that aside. You don't worry about that. Just do the job.
So your choice of driver and Ben Hanley, you've brought in John Dick as an engineer, someone with a lot of IndyCar experience as well. Tell us about your decision on how you have formed this team. I think some might say, well, why didn't you go name a veteran IndyCar driver who's here all the time? Why didn't you go and choose some of the maybe easy options or easier options from just experience, someone who's been engineering a car all last year kind of thing?
Yeah.
You've gone a different route.
I think there's not that much talent available, to be honest. If you're really honest about who doesn't have a ride, would you? Why don't they? The series has full grids. Not that many pay drivers. So, in that sense, I look at what's available. We get hit on by a lot of people. I see a lot more value in the continuation that we have with Ben. It's his 4th season with us. I've had a large involvement in his return to racing and work really, really well with him. You see me often over the wall, talking to him in the helmet. We're friends. We have a similar mentality to racing, so that canceled out all that. Every single one of the boys knows him. The engineer had worked with him before, and I know exactly what he's capable of. And ironically enough, this is a style of place that suits him perfectly. His mentality, he's flat emotionally. His ask on the wheel, wherever we race, I always felt was suited to this place. And he's proved that the first 3 days. He's been flawless. And he's been under all kinds of circumstances. We're trying to build a car to make sure we make the field. So a lot of low downforce running, a lot of traffic out there, a lot of complications. You saw what's happened to others.
Not making it easy on him.
No, but he's handled it perfectly. He's unflappable. And a better person to ask, is John Dick. Because he only just met him 3 days ago. And I think he'd be a good reference to give you an idea of who the guy that I brought is.
So the challenge for any new team at the Indy 500 is you don't have last year's proverbial data to go back to. You're having to build from scratch. John Dick as well having to figure out this 2018 Aero kit, new front tire compound, and get up to speed as well, along with a rookie driver as well. How have you tried to manage this fact that you have to get really smart really quickly or there's dire consequences, knowing that was the fact from the beginning?
Yeah. I think that question was answered after the first time we let Ben go in the ROP. He went straight to a 221. So for me, the starting setup was going to be everything. It's like seeing the sector times on an outlap. I know what's going to happen when I see the car leave. I understand the tire temps. I know the fuel load. At a normal road course, I know what we're going to do. I fully understand. So for me, the baseline setup from the ROP, 2 days ago now, it's going by so quick.
I know, back in the day.
Jesus, yeah, back then when we were young. That gave me a ton of confidence that I made the right decisions.
Where does Chevy fit into this learning curve for you? We know they make one hell of a motor, but they're not just an engine supplier. They are an overall vehicle performance friend,
True.
if you want to put it that
Very,
way.
very friendly.
How have they helped maybe on that learning curve to accelerate some of it just besides horsepower?
Yeah, no, of course. So, I'm totally open. I keep no secrets.
Your ATM number is? Oh, sorry, we're not quite there yet.
So, no, anyway. I had an existing engineer that was with us. We ran Texas. We ran the guy that runs all our cars. We have a group of them, but our main guy that we brought here, we had an idea, and Pratt Miller has been with us from the beginning. You need to do this. You need to do that. You need to be in this window. And we formulated a starting setup. When we brought John in, we didn't vary too much from that. So he, in a way, verified with his experience, well, that makes sense. So they have a huge hand in helping their own. How much they help us in the end, we'll only find out Saturday, Sunday. Because I feel like all the Hondas are mostly full-timers, and the part-timers have been given Chevys, or have been able to get Chevys. So you can argue, logic says that it'll be us fighting for the end. So they're going to find themselves in a tough situation where they have multiple Chevys fighting for the last spot. Hopefully not.
Yes. Talk about this team of yours. This isn't an IndyCar team you've assembled to come do IndyCar.
Well, I have a story for you on that one right now.
Okay.
It's going to blow people's minds.
All right.
I had no team 5 days ago. Half my guys' visas got denied.
Really?
5 days ago, I lost my crew chief, sub-assembly, and number one. They're stuck in Europe. They're not here. I've got 4 new guys on the team that we headhunted over a 4-day period. All Americans. They've gelled. Incredibly, you know what I'm really proud of? Is the DNA and the mentality, and what is the team stays the team. And that was what I wanted to achieve so badly.
And that was what I was trying to drive at, is this is not a bespoke DragonSpeed open wheel team, but granted, you've now had to improvise to kind of fill that with some, but your whole goal all along is to show and prove that you are a team. Oh,
Yes.
You want us to go to Le Mans and do this? You want us to go here and do that? We are a universal tool. And that is, although some of them unfortunately can't be here now because of our current visa policy, apparently, or issues there.
It's
but,
quite tough.
Tell folks, your employees are, it could be F1 background, it could be GT here, it could be prototype. You've tried not to hire one type of person.
Exactly.
You've tried to create this well-rounded.
Yeah, it's, in one way, it can be terribly inconvenient in the sense that we're not we've spent a lot of time in Europe lately, okay? So I didn't want to pick the best guys from my area. We made a point of picking the best guys we could find. Because we almost always operate as a flyaway team. The way the team operates is as if you're on a world tour. More like when IndyCar was traveling or when Formula One travels, you're on the road. So we're accustomed to that. That is normal. And I love that because it opened up the possibility of saying, okay, there's a Portuguese guy that's good. There's an American guy that's good. There's a Canadian. I don't care. And I know I'm an American team, an American guy, and that's important. But I think the most important thing for my job and my duty to my program is to find the best guys that I can. And it creates a pretty cool atmosphere.
Coming back to today's running, the no-toe speeds were certainly something to take a look at. I don't want to say I was completely surprised, but I was surprised to the degree that many teams chose to stay stuck in with race day running in packs and whatnot.
Yeah.
Toe speeds. Give us a thought about where you guys are at.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I have no idea.
That's an honest assessment.
I have no idea, dude. If John wasn't with us, Paul, my other engineer, and I would be taking the rear wing off. Because you look at it, you're like, that can't be right. And then John's like, no, this is actually quite good. And then, Chevy comes over and Pratt Miller comes over. He goes, you guys are doing a good job. Those are good numbers for what you're doing. And we're like, okay. Honestly, What reference do I have? It's the conditions, the weather, the temperature, the wind. Everybody else knows. And that's where John's been fantastic. But it's kept us nice and stable, has, implemented small changes along the way. And I think he's really helped Ben. in a long way. And that wasn't really the intent or how it's come across, but just the method has been, because, the road course guys, we get a little brash and we say, okay, attack. Even Ben at one point today was like, can we go? I'm too comfortable. Not now. So, yeah, we'll see how it plays out. I honestly have no idea what's going to happen.
How about from looking at the speeds you've been able to set, no toe and otherwise? I know you would have liked to have ended the day with that no toe speed a little bit faster than what it was. I think we saw high 224 was the best no toe, something like that.
P25 overall and no toe for today. I'll take it. Today we qualified. Who knows what happens tomorrow? Literally, I think my personal mentality is day by day. Every day is a challenge. You try to tackle every day. Yesterday we didn't make it. Today we made it. If we can keep that trend going, would be good. But that's really, I think, the mentality is we just take day by day. And, partially because of our lack of experience and understanding and seeing the big picture. You can really see the other teams understand really well where they are, and they can say, okay, we're good. Now we're going to go work on something else. If we don't qualify, we don't race. So what's the point? We ran in traffic at the end there with Pagenaud and Newgarden and hung with them for 7-8 laps for that whole run. We didn't overtake, but we were also on pretty low downforce compared to them. So that was good. But I'm scared. Every time I see my car go through 2 behind another car, I don't know what's going to happen.
Lord. Well, again, for the driver with the least amount of oval experience in this event, one thing we can't say is Ben's been acting a fool. Ben's been putting himself in bad situations and getting lucky and getting through it.
And he's been solid. But look, he's not a kid. He's experienced. We work together. This is all part of the, of course he wants to prove. But we're here on a different mission. We're trying to prove together. And that was part of the thing that worried me about putting somebody else in the car as well, Guys come and go. They get some budget. They race for the weekend. That's great. They disappear for a year. Okay.
Maybe folks haven't done a job at all of telling folks that Ben is someone who was very promising. We thought was going to be on that road to F1. I don't know if he would have made it, but he was, again, promising European open wheel ladder moving on up.
Yep.
Career stalled.
Yep.
A big part of the Ben Hanley story is this. There's no one on the planet who expected to be practicing and getting ready to qualify for the Indy 500 in 2019 than 2000, whatever year, 8, 9, 10 version Ben Hanley. If anything, he was wondering, should I become a barista? Yeah. Should I mow lawns
he went back to karting.
Living?
He's been a professional karter. He's still at the front of the World Championship. Still, kids have to get through Ben to become somebody, including Leclerc and Verstappen and everybody else.
But
so
this is
he went back to make a living in karting.
This is a guy whose upward ascension to the highest levels had stalled, and fortunately was able to rekindle things through sports cars with you, does tons of tire testing with Pirelli. Bottom line, though, is of those who might be happiest or feeling the luckiest, although Ben's not a big emotional showy guy,
I love him for
folks hopefully have to realize that this is a guy who never thought he'd be close to this years ago.
I think for those of us that know him, even some of the crew are like, "You're happy, aren't you?" He's like, "Yeah, this is cool. This is cool." And I really didn't know what, we've driven some of the most legendary circuits around the world. We've raced at Le Mans. We've done a lot of stuff. You've seen a lot of corners. And you never really know what it's like. But if you go on his WhatsApp and you see the chats with his schoolboy friends, they didn't blow up like that when he was at Le Mans with me. They didn't blow up like that when we were winning in Europe last week. No, it's here. It's because we're here.
Let's close on this, Elton. The Elton Julian that I knew and followed was talented, went over to Europe, loved following your pursuit of a Formula One dream in the early 90s, British F3 and all kinds of stuff. Over here, at least, proud, flying the American flag. Wasn't Priestley a part of something as well?
Yeah, we had to deal with Jason at the beginning.
Jason Priestley. Again,
I feel guilty. I think I brought him into racing.
Yeah, well, all right.
Sorry.
That's another podcast.
You should have stayed in rally.
But again, for those of us who've known you, followed you for a long time, we would have been absolutely convinced to hear that Elton Julian and pick the year 1995, 98, entering the Indy 500 as a driver.
Yep.
Tell us what it's like coming here years later as a team owner, but someone with a very impressive driving career as well, to be living this American racing dream just a little bit different than maybe you originally envisioned it.
It's a good question. It's a really good question. I'm a relatively new team owner, as most people, even with the success we've had in Europe. It's really a 6-7 year phase where I stopped driving in 12th. So from 13 to now, it's been, we won in every formula we've been in, which is what makes me really proud. But I've always been eager to jump out of that formula and into the next, which is why we got here so quickly. A bit like a driver going up a ladder.
Sure.
And in the sense, I drive the team anyway, so not much has changed. My mentality, the way I wake up in the morning, the way I think about coming to work at the track is the same as when I was a driver. Now, believe me, the business side of it sucks. The responsibility and the ache and the pain. I'd much rather show up, drive, complain, and go home. But I'm not allowed to do that anymore. Literally, the weekend isn't over until the truck unloads back at the shop, like days later. But it's, I see all the other team owners that I used to beg for rides, and they're still here. I'm not a person that really thinks too much about that stuff. I just want to get the job done. Probably when I get a little older and a little longer in the tooth of this team owners thing, maybe I'll look that way. But right now, it's just one of the boys, this race.
Thanks for joining me, brother.
My pleasure.
I'm hoping we're going to be sitting here talking Sunday or Monday. This David versus Goliath thing you're trying to pull off,
yeah.
Or is this modern-day Evel Knievel versus Goliath thing? I hope folks are telling you how much they love the livery on the car.
So.
It's a pretty cool thing to watch. Again, I know you didn't come here with any false sense of, oh yeah, field of 33, we're going to be on pole. You didn't come in here with any silly mindset. You know what you've gotten yourself into, and I appreciate the fact that you and the team are like, okay, we have chosen the hardest thing we can possibly do, and we're just going to keep trying, see what comes, but we're not going to buckle under the weight of this thing.
No, you don't. I mean, look, day 1, cool, day 2, 3, now it's a track. It's a paddock, it's a track, it's a pit lane, there's a job to do, and there's a lap time to make. That's it.
Speak to you here soon, my friend.
All right, brother.
James Davison, we are done with Thursday, May 16th, practice for the Indy 500. Give us some thoughts about where you are at in your Byrd, Hollinger, Belardi, ABCDEFG Motorsports entry presented by Sesame Street, Big Byrd, and a variety of others. Tell us about your day. Tell us about your effort. When we spoke this morning, you were optimistic that more speed would come your way. Did you get what you're looking for?
Well, yeah, since the rain's come, we didn't get to put our quali sim in, so we're going to have to wait another 24 hours, really, to see where we are. There's really been no reason why we should have shown any speed on the no-toe chart so far, as we've been running full downforce and just working on race trim. We've been quite competitive in race trim, been able to pass a lot of cars, and we've been trying different front wings, and there's definitely some sensitivities there. But yeah, we've had a decent day. Certainly would like to have gotten to run trimmed, but yeah, it's the same for everyone at this point with the rain, so it'll just have to wait till tomorrow.
Your story here at the Indy 500, more often than not, has been heroics will be required at some point. And I'm not blowing smoke here, but for folks who've paid attention, you'll get up on that steering wheel. You're not afraid to have to work hard. Share some thoughts for folks who might be wondering, okay, we see you're 12th on the overall speed chart for the day, 35th on the no-toe.
Yeah.
Is there a level of discomfort at where you're at on the no-toe, knowing that, at least so far, knowing you haven't had a chance to really do a qualifying sim, you still have to find out what you got there and if it might get you in the show?
Yeah, there is. I'd be lying if I said there wasn't. Look, we were we only did 30 laps on Tuesday after the refresher, but we had the slowest no-toe. And yesterday maybe was more or less the same, and today was also. Again, there's no reason why we should have shown a big number because we've always ran full downforce pretty much. But you look at obviously what your teammates are running on the same wing, and they're definitely faster. So I'm prepared to be sweating out this coming weekend if that's indeed the case. It's not obviously the most encouraging thing, but again, it is a little bit of shadow boxing. We just got to see where we're at. Who knows what the Honda guys are doing with the power level. I know I'm running one engine. I know within my team, look, Seb starts with his Indy GP engine, and then they pull that out, or they have pulled it out and they put another engine in for quali, and then after quali he gets another engine, and we've just got the one engine. And so I feel that my Honda tech is looking after my engine, knowing that we're going to need all the life on it come the race if we have that luxury to do it. So yeah, look, there's just a lot of unknown right now, but there is such thing as a form guide, and so far we haven't been so quick on the no-toes. So definitely ready for this weekend. What with whatever's thrown at me.
Let's stay on this theme because it's we've known each other for a while.
Yeah,
I've seen you do some insane things in sports cars as well. There haven't been many years in your career where it's been, I don't want to say gravy, but just show up, full season, everything.
Yeah.
You're baked in for the year. I don't want to say you can exhale, but you know that everything is set and good. You just have to drive, and your year will be okay.
Yeah.
For those who don't know what it's like being a highly skilled driver coming to a huge event that means more than anything, what's it like from a pressure standpoint? This is like asking a star baseball player to show up at the playoffs having been cold all year and to throw the winning pass. This has to be tough mentally.
To be honest with you, this has been the story of my professional career. I've never caught the break that I would have liked to. And, it started 10 years ago when I finished Indy Lights. And, I ran Indy Lights with Hinch, Hildebrand, Kimball, and a bunch of guys. And, the funding or the right place, right time just wasn't behind me there. And it's the same for, tens to hundreds of talented drivers. You've got a very small amount of opportunities for how big the talent pool is. And if you don't find yourself in the right place at the right time, it's certainly a struggle. And you've just always got to do the best with what cards you've got. And so as a result, I've never had a great hand of cards, and I've always jumped in at the deep end. Look, I qualified last year for my first real Indy 500. Obviously, I'd made it in default by obviously the Bourdais accident in 2017, and always ran limited miles. I've jumped in NASCARs. I've never tested a NASCAR in my life. Just jumped straight in on the race weekend, and you got to figure it out. Sports car racing, same deal, limited testing. It's just always been like this. So I don't know any different. I remember my
You'd
first...
like to know different. You just don't know any different yet.
I would, but I understand the way this sport works. Obviously, if you're born into a family, with the financials or the name, or you just find yourself in the right place, right time, you obviously you have no reason to look back. But the situation that I'm in is the story for the vast majority of drivers, you know, and at least I'm here, you know. We all want to win, and we all want to be driving for Penske, but obviously you've got to catch the right breaks and have the right funding behind you to be able to do 2, 3, 4 seasons in IndyCar racing to mature to a point that someone like Roger Penske or Chip Ganassi will hire you, right? And so that those opportunities are forthcoming for a very small percentage of people. But look, just to be here at the 500, I think is an achievement in itself for every driver, even if you don't qualify. Like I've said, there's 3 races within the Indy 500 race. There's a race to get in an entry into the race. There's a race to qualify into the race, and then there's the race itself. And you think of how many people want to do this. Just to be here in this super tough era is an achievement in itself for everyone who manages to pull it off. So yeah, it would have been nice to have gotten the break I would have liked 10 years ago after Indy Lights, but it's been what it's been, and I've done my absolute best with it. And look, as I've said a number of times, it's just kind of being born in the wrong era. You know, 20 years ago, it's just a completely different deal when you had, what was it, $600 million of corporate sponsorship in IndyCar racing with the tobacco brands, the manufacturers, beer companies, all of above, right? That just gave so much opportunity to the young drivers, right? The driver development programs and rookies would get enough testing that, you know, they would be able to prove themselves, and team owners would be willing to take a calculated shot on them. And obviously none of that's forthcoming these days. So I remember my rookie weekend in IndyCar in 2013 at Mid-Ohio, and I'd been on the couch basically for 4 years after Indy Lights, and all of a sudden I've got an opportunity to drive for Dale at Mid-Ohio, and you know, I knew the cars were going to be physical, and I had no race fitness behind me, and I was just, I got maybe 2 or 3 weeks notice, and Mid-Ohio is a tough track. Everyone's, you know, got 10, 15 years of experience behind them, and 3/4 of a season of race fitness, and I just really had to take myself and push myself to a high level, and, you know, come qualifying, I was able to deliver and even surprise myself, and you know, the race went green all 90 laps and managed to not fall out of the seat physically and hold my own and finish ahead of some decently established names in the series. So, you know, it's
you know,
it gives you some self-confidence, and it's obviously satisfying as well when you fight through some adversity, and but yeah, look, like you touched on it would be just great to be in a full season, and basically a Zach Veach situation. You know, you got 3 years to mature, or in an arena that gives you every opportunity to get out all of your full potential.
Well, I hope we are back here either end of day Sunday or Monday, talking about your journey to get into the Indy 500 again, James Davison. And hopefully, A, we can do that, and B, we can talk more about the pretty awesome faith that's been shown in you by the Byrd family, Brad Hollinger, Brian Belardi, along with the Coynes as well. So looking forward to you doing more James Davison things this weekend. And again, I hope we can catch up again after qualifying's over.
Yep, certainly. Hope to be able to have that opportunity to talk to you after the whole quali weekend's over, that's for sure.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.